Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for sticking around. Also, thank you to my students for showing up. I mean, the power of extra credit is real today. They're genuinely interested in what I'll be talking about. So today, when Bill Devereaux invited me to this symposium, it was actually a moment of really rethinking of my research. And I hadn't really thought about that a lot of my research or what I have studied actually happens at night in Los Angeles. So really, that question of what is the relationship of Latinos, Latinas, Latinx, and particularly Latinx youth and the night? Or what does the LA night offers Latinx in Los Angeles? So I was thinking about this question, and I admit that I have done plenty of field research on this. And so this is actually myself. As a teenager, like 5 years ago, more like 25 years ago. And here is, I'm attending a tocada, a music gig in Chinatown. And yes, that's in front of the now famous for punk rock shows, Hong Kong Cafe. That by the 1990s, it was called the Hong Kong Low. And this, in the 1970s, was the epicenter of punk rock. That's the central plaza in Chinatown. But by the 1990s, it had become the epicenter of rock angelino. That is the Los Angeles brand of Latin American rock or rock and roll. And this is what it looked outside. That's my high school friends and me being my typical dark self. But I also want to show you how not only the city looked at night, but it also sounded at night. So this is what it sounded like at night. This is rock urbano, which is a particular brand of rock and roll from the Mexican working class periphery. And check out those dance moves, which are quite amazing and snazzy. And also you'll see on the walls the iconography of the Hong Kong Cafe. And I have to tell you that actually this is my research as a PhD student, but I came to it rather late in my career. If we have discussed this a couple years ago, I'll be like, I lived through that, but I'm never going to study that. I mean, it's just something that I went through this. But the more I was thinking about this, I started thinking about the relationship between Los Angeles youth as a way of placemaking, space making, and also the politics of this. So as I began doing this research as a participant at that moment, I took it up as an academic project, and I started documenting this, researching this, and pretty soon I opened up this Instagram account that developed in this public scholarship project, which I call Rock Archivo LA, which is a crowdsourced account where I share photos, people also send me photos, flyers, tickets, and other ephemera, along with captions that connect. I write captions that connected to the larger historical period. And a lot of this actually happens at night. This type of scholarship, for me, it allows us to examine and visualize how the creators of these flyers, the participants to these events, either immigrants or latter generations Latinx, mapped out and respatialized their own metropolis at this time in the 1990s. And yes, I'm showing you maps that were created by the organizers of these events. And so this is a moment of the 1990s before we had Google Maps, Waze, and all the good things that, where we can find an actual address. So for me, it's really interesting to think about how they respatialized, they created this new alternative cartography. Sonically, through sound, but also through their own map making. Most of the time, as these events happen at night. So how would you find an address in Los Angeles that in the middle of the night? And I think that today we have heard different conversations about the ephemerality of certain spaces in Los Angeles, but also the way mammals and ourselves, humans, create and remap Los Angeles, right? So in here I'm showing you some of these maps, which I find quite interesting as they're either in Spanish, English, or Spanglish. But if you notice at the bottom of this, you see the Huntington freeway, and it says rush hour, right? So just thinking all these temporalities that are present in these maps. And what I think about when I think of Latinx and its relationship to the LA night, it is this space making, these places that in the absence of formal venues in predominantly Latinx neighborhoods, or also because of the social segregation in terms of the impossibility or not feeling welcome in formal music venues in the West Side, in Hollywood, they created their own venues, which I call ephemeral forums. These were either rundown restaurants, auto shops. I have found evidence of funerary homes where these music gigs took place. And what you see here is how youth travel, Latinx youth travel through these different neighborhoods at night to these places. To come together, yes, to dance syncopated rhythms of either ska or punk rock beats. And in doing so, they asserted their belonging in Los Angeles. So in here I have two photos of this ephemeral forum in Southgate, California, in the southeast part of Los Angeles. And what I find interesting about these two photos is, one, just the technology, the kind of technology that we see here, but also we see this portrait right here on the image over there where that dude is like on top of the speakers, right? Which is Carlos Gardel, which we can argue is the first pan-Latino music star, a tango music star from the 1930s, and how his appearance comes to kind of bless these happenings in Southeast Los Angeles. So what happened in these forums, in these places? Yes, a lot of people, a lot of these Latina youth went as a way to spend time with each other, some leisure time. But what's interesting about this is that it allowed possibilities that formal spaces or venues did not, particularly, yes, in the middle of the night. One, they were all ages. This obviously allowed for people that were in their teenage years, that perhaps were a little older to attend to these venues. But then the other part about all ages is that because it did not ask for a requisite in terms of an ID, people that perhaps their legal status was not perhaps formalized or authorized could attend these venues, these music shows that otherwise they would not be able to do so in formal venues such as the Roxy, the Whiskey, or present-day music venues in Echo Park. So while a lot of the attendees might have just gone for the leisure, others took it upon to create a collectivity, to also create solidarities at a moment of explosive xenophobia and also anti-immigrant sentiment. No, we're not talking about 2016 or 17. We're thinking of Los Angeles in 1994 with the inclusion of Proposition 187 in the ballot, this anti-immigrant proposition. And so what you see in these ephemeral venues, it is this, one, the solidarity, people going into these shows with this clenched teeth attitude of, we are feeling besieged, we're feeling under attack in the city or in the state, but also how are we going to organize to counter this anti-immigrant policy, and also sentiment in the city and in the state. So you see a lot of political activism taking root in this in these spaces. So one in here in the left side, I'm showing you a flyer for a concert, a benefit concert for the campaign against Prop 187, mostly in Spanish, and this happens in the city of Huntington Park, featuring Mexico City's own Maldita Vecindad. And on the right, 6 years later, what you have is a punk rock gig here in South LA. And you see that it is a flyer of a punk rock flyer, but there is a definite message of organizing on, against police brutality. something that black and brown youth have constantly been target of, particularly here in South LA. So throughout these ephemeral forums, Latinx have made spatial claims in the metropolis, and also continue this exchange of cultural expressions and political advocacy in the 1990s, in the aughts, and all the way to the present. So we can see some of that activism taking place around 94, later on in 96, as the passage of IRIRA, this federal legislation that further criminalized immigrants, and being together in these spaces. As precarious, as ephemeral as they were, Latinx youth were able to let off steam after a long day of hard work, taxing labor, perhaps been ignoring the city. And then they became politicized in these gigs. And as not only the participants, but also bands touch on the issues of racism, police abuse, immigration bashing in their songs. In addition, they addressed the urgent need of more democratic societies in Latin America. So we did see this transnational circuit of ideas and politics being shared across borders. So in the years after, we see that organizers and participants of the become intergenerational organizers during first in the 96 anti-proposition marches of 94, but also in the 2000 immigration reform marches, which become the biggest civil rights manifestations in the history of the U.S., with the largest demonstration here in downtown Los Angeles that gathered over 1 million participants. So now, to conclude, in the Los Angeles night, Latinx youth have created, share, and enjoy cultural expressions that they have employed as these strategic, symbolic, and spatial manifestations of solidarity among themselves and other marginalized groups. And also, at night, they have made their visibility and presence in Los Angeles. These cultural expressions have created bridges of solidarities by Latinx of different national origins, citizenships, and legal migratory statuses. Thus, I think that the LA Night offers us something, that their activities, either in ephemeral forums or as part of the LA Night, Latinos, Latinas, Latinx, helps us broaden our understanding of what the Latino Los Angeles is, beyond the confines of Latinos, Latinas as mere laborers, or just immigrants, or solely social activists. Rather, Latinx youth were and are multifaceted active agents in the city and life of Los Angeles, who are instrumental in the creation of Los Angeles in the 21st century. Thank you for your time.